Geologist Ish lives a peaceful life. One morning, he decides to visit the quarry to look for pyrite and ignores a call from his mother on his way out. Moments later while he's working, a snake suddenly bites his hand before crawling away. Panicking, he takes out his phone only to accidentally drop it down the hill. Next he uses a knife to gain easier access and sucks the venom out. He rushes back to his house and drinks some water before collapsing on the bed, but then he becomes delirious. A few hours later, Ish hasn't moved and his hand is terribly swollen. He can hear someone knocking on his door and a helicopter outside, but he can't move or talk. In the evening he crawls out of bed to get more water, but his movements are so clumsy that he spills it, so he has to suck it from the floor. Ish keeps calling for his mom while on his phone a text arrives from her saying "we love you." Many days later Ish wakes up feeling better and his hand is back to normal. He gets in his car after cleaning it and it takes it a few tries to start. Ish drives to town and is surprised to find the streets empty. Eventually he stops the car when he discovers a rotting body on the ground. There are military cars everywhere and more dead people inside other vehicles. On a road sign he reads that there's been a global pandemic and the US government has been suspended. As he freaks out, he gets back in his car and turns on the radio. The news reminds the public the virus is highly contagious and lethal, so everyone must stay inside. When he makes it to his family home, Ish is devastated to discover both his parents are dead. After taking a moment to cry, he buries his parents in the backyard with a kiss on the forehead as goodbye. After resting in his childhood bed, Ish keeps searching the town and finds dozens of bodies in the church. Then he picks up a bunch of supplies including a gun and drives to the bridge, only to find it blocked. He screams in frustration before taking a different road to reach Las Vegas, which is also completely deserted. Searching the buildings is unsuccessful, so Ish decides to take a break in a jacuzzi. Later he goes to a bar to get a drink and drops the glass when he's startled by a voice. These are Milton and Anne, who explains they're immune and got stuck here when it all started. Milton has recorded the announcement on his phone and shows it to Ish, who learns the virus is new and nobody knows where it came from. Vaccines were ineffective and people were starting to panic on the streets. Eventually the government lost control and the virus took over the nation. Suddenly Ish admits that his parents had told him there was a new sickness around, but he hadn't thought it was this serious. Milton and Anne tell him all nations fell, so probably there are only a handful of survivors like them around the world. Anne confesses she watched her daughters and husband die on a video call. While the duo keeps drinking, Ish leaves to take the elevator, only to realize he has nowhere to go and falls asleep on the ground. The next morning he finds Anne trying on expensive clothes from the store. Ish wonders if being alive matters, and Anne says her heart beating doesn't mean she's alive. Then the trio gathers for breakfast and Ish learns Milton's wife died here in the hotel. Ish announces he'll leave soon in an upset and leaves the table. Milton tries to convince Ish to stay, saying they have food and a generator. As he shows Ish his gun, he also reveals he and Anne have an agreement: when food runs out, they'll self-delete. When Ish points out that the country has enough resources to last a decade, Milton asks why anyone would want to live after everything they cared about is gone. Before leaving, Ish asks Anne to come with him. She turns him down but still kisses him, so Ish has to push her off. On his way out, Ish hears 2 gunshots. Furious, Ish drives down the road at dangerous speed and almost hits a dog, but he stops just in time. Seeing this as a sign, he names the dog Lucky and takes him with him. Next Ish stops at the library and gathers all the books on survival he can find. Not knowing what else to do, Ish returns to his old house to start a new life with Lucky. A year later, Ish is still alive. He keeps himself busy with chores and exercise, but he can feel he's starting to lose it and sometimes he drives his car in circles. One morning he hears Lucky barking and looks out the window to see smoke in the distance. Ish and Lucky immediately get in the car and drive to town to follow the smoke to a particular house. Emma appears on the roof with a gun, but she puts it down when Ish explains his situation. She invites him in and tells him she arrived a few days ago while sharing tea and bread. They get along pretty well, so when Ish tries to leave, Emma tells him to stay the night. The next morning Ish convinces her to come live with him so they can keep each other company. While Emma looks around the house, Ish gets rid of the noose he'd hung up when he felt hopeless. Emma notices that the rats have gotten into the pantry, so they go back to town to get supplies. At the store, they have to ignore the horrible stench coming from the bodies and a few rats. Days pass and Emma and Ish find a new routine together. They plant vegetables and go fishing for food. In town, animals appear on the streets because there are no people to stop them. Emma gives Ish a haircut and he starts building a chicken coop, hoping they can start a farm. Eventually their relationship turns intimate. When Ish's car runs out of gas, he has to start filling up the tank using other vehicles in town. He also begins building solar panels on top of the house. One morning, he accidentally slips off the roof and falls, hurting his ankle in the process. Emma helps him come inside and takes care of him while admitting she misses having more people around. Later while he's sleeping, she looks at old pictures of her family and cries. When Ish gets better he immediately starts building again. Emma announces she's pregnant and Ish freaks out, hesitant to bring a kid to a post-apocalyptic world. He ends up looking for books on childbirth at the library, where rats are running around too. A few months later, The couple's little farm is going well with plenty of vegetables and even a few chickens. However, Emma points out she needs protein, so Ish agrees to go hunting. He finds a bunch of cows and after lots of hesitation, he shoots one as he apologizes. Then he follows a book's instructions to cut it and get the meat, which he takes home in a cooler. Some days later, Ish finally finishes the solar panels and the house has power, which means they can store food in the fridge again. Emma interrupts the happy moment with bad news. She's found a huge rat in the basement. She had to drown it to kill it since their traps aren't big enough for this size. A quick look through the window reveals that hundreds of rats have taken over the town and are now coming to their house. Ish realizes that the trash is attracting the rats, so he rushes outside to burn it all while Emma shoots at the rats that get too close. Unfortunately, Ish has to burn what is left of the cow as well. No matter what they do, the rats keep coming, so the duo runs back inside and starts working on sealing every door, window, and hole. Emma also pours lots of bleach into the toilet. A sudden crying noise reveals they forgot Lucky outside and he's being bitten by the rats. Ish has no choice but to open the door and quickly grab the dog before running back. It's just a second, but a few rats still manage to get in, and Ish tries to open fire. The bullet misses because they're constantly moving, so instead Ish begins killing them all by furiously smashing them with his gun. Afterward, Emma takes care of Lucky's wounds. This experience makes Ish afraid he may lose Emma during childbirth, so she finally confesses she gave birth to 2 daughters without complications. She lost her entire family on the same day because of the virus. A few months later, the rat infestation is finally under control thanks to the feral cats prowling in the streets. The couple can finally unseal the house and come out again. That day, Emma starts feeling contractions and gets ready to give birth. However, she discovers the baby's shoulder is coming out first. Ish wants to find the book that explains how to deal with this, but Emma yells at him and guides him on how to correct the position of the baby until the head is out first. This helps the birth go smoothly, and now they're the proud parents of a healthy baby girl. Feeling hope for the future again, Emma paints their address on a wall in town, inviting survivors to join them. This is seen by a mysterious person in the distance. 6 years since the pandemic started, Ish is driving alone when he accidentally hits a lion. He grabs his gun and gets ready to mercy kill it, but at that moment he notices someone watching him from the woods. He runs after this person and tries to grab her, so the girl tries to defend herself. Ish steps back and swears he means no harm, explaining he has food and that lives with other survivors. The girl just screams again and runs away. When Ish returns to his truck, he discovers the lion is gone and the girl has been following him. She accepts the apple he offers her and jumps on the back of the truck. Ish takes the girl to his house and it's revealed he and Emma have 2 kids now, Heather and Alex. They've also been joined by 2 more survivors, Jorge and Maureen, not to mention Emma is pregnant again. Everyone is friendly toward the new girl, but she still doesn't speak or leave the truck, so Ish concludes she must have PTSD. That night, the girl sleeps in the truck. The next morning, Maureen brings breakfast for the girl, who is startled and causes her to drop the dish. As the girl grabs her wrist, Maureen notices they have the same scars and shows her the ones on her chest. She also offers her hair for her to touch, gaining her trust. Afterward, Maureen shares how she and Jorge arrived here thanks to the sign and convinces the girl to get a bath. Meanwhile, Ish and Jorge go to the woods and discover 2 very rudimentary cabins with graves in the back. Moments later, Maureen goes through the girl's belongings. There are many creepy drawings in a diary and a letter that indicates the girl's name is Evie. Maureen uses the name and the girl responds well to it. She even accepts clean clothes and a room to sleep in. In the evening, Maureen shares the letter with the others. It was written by Evie's mother, who begged the reader to take care of her daughter. When the pandemic started, Evie's father took out his frustrations on her and the mother was sick, so she couldn't protect her. The group agrees to welcome Maureen to their little family. Soon Emma gives birth to a lovely baby boy named Joey. A year later, the group is having a nice day when suddenly the intruder alert goes off. After leaving the kids inside with Maureen, Ish, Emma, and Jorge grab their guns and go investigate. They find an armed woman named Molly, and after a little back and forth, everyone agrees to put down their weapons. Molly introduces them to her friends Jean, Ezra, and Raif, and they all agree to go to the house. After more introductions, Maureen realizes Jean is a famous musician. The group comes from Oregon and claims they left because of a flu outbreak. Emma tells them they can stay in the neighboring house, but Ish is still suspicious. The next day, everyone gathers to go out for supplies. All the kids must stay back and Ish is very strict when he explains the rules. Molly asks about medicine, but Ish tells her it's all gone, so they should stick to food. When they make it to town, there's a buffalo in the street and Ish tells the others to just ignore it. The group splits to look for food, but Molly ignores the rules and goes to the hospital, where she finds many disgusting bodies. Jean grabs lots of alcohol and Ezra finds a guitar for her. When the group reunites to leave, they notice Molly is gone. At the hospital, Molly comes across a feral dog and uses a fire extinguisher to scare it away. Then she uses that same extinguisher to break a lock, which gives her access to a backup stash of medicine. When she finally goes back, Ish scolds her for breaking the rules, but he has to shut up when she shows him how much medicine she's found. That night, Jean uses her new guitar to sing for everyone over a bonfire, and Ezra tells a few bad jokes. After everyone goes to bed, Jorge shares his favorite memory with Maureen and they do the dirty for the first time. Meanwhile,